Hi and welcome to this video about attendance rate. My name is Jonathan and I'm one of the co-founders of Univid, a webinar platform to create engaging webinars in 60 seconds. So what is attendance rate? Attendance rate means how many of your potential attendees that signed up for the webinar that actually showed up. So you'll calculate this by taking the number of attendees that showed up and divide that by the total number of registrants for your webinar. And that will give you the attendance rate. Attendance rate is really interesting to look at as it kind of gives you a hint of how well you were able to market the event to the right people, putting the right material out there, right people to sign up and also be that interested in the content that they actually show up. Also, it tells you a little bit about the technical side of things, how well you were able to convert the potential attendees that were maybe interested but maybe didn't get enough reminders in their email, or it was a bit difficult signing up, or they had troubles along the way from signing up to actually attending the webinar, meaning your attendance rate actually depends on the technical factors as well. But I'll show you 6 different things here that can impact attendance rate and also give you some benchmarks of what a really good attendance rate in 2024 looks like, and also what an attendance rate that kind of needs some work looks like. So you'll have some idea to benchmark against. Let's jump into it. Is my attendance rate good enough? Then you have to kind of benchmark against other companies in similar industries as you, or with a similar ideal viewer persona. So essentially if you're targeting B2C, then you will see some different attendance rates, and if you're targeting very complex type of B2B type of deals, then you will see some other attendance rates there. So be aware of the industry that you're benchmarking against. But I'll give you some general benchmarks here to determine if you have a good attendance rate, if it needs some work, or if you exceed the kind of the golden standard. So attendance rates can typically vary in between 35 to 60% in general. External marketing type of webinars typically have an attendance rate that is a bit lower, on the lower end, about 35 to 45%, whereas internal communications webinars typically see a bit of a higher attendance rate on average of about 55 to 60%. Well, this might not be that surprising, as potential leads might not have the same intent as a typical existing customer or even an employee at the company itself. So the type of webinar here is also something that really matters when benchmarking. Having an attendance rate in general below 35% means that you need to do some work around this. 35 to 40% is considered okay. And remember here that having a lot of registrations can still be very valuable, even though they don't even show up, all of them, because you can leverage these in follow-up communications. Maybe they will be invited to the next webinar, or you can target them with some different marketing newsletters and so on to really make them convert and nurture them throughout the buyer journey. 45 to 55% is considered good. 55 to 65% is considered great, and over 65% and you're doing an outstanding job. And this is considered for external webinars. When jumping into factors that determine the attendance rate, we have 6 of them that I'll show you. So first of all, the webinar format is something that matters. Are you hosting live? Are you doing a simulated webinar, or are you doing an on-demand one? On-demand ones, you would typically see an attendance rate that is close to 100%, as you typically sign up at the same time as you get access to the material. So that's more of a technical kind of technicality of how your flow looks and how many people you will lose in between there. And also an attendance can be calculated in some different ways. Typically it's calculated based on actually attending the webinar for a minimum time, but it could also be set, for example, a bit more strict to let's say 2 minutes, 3 minutes at minimum. So you really make sure that all of these attendees have kind of a higher average watch time than just click the link, let's say. The topic and content will obviously determine how well the viewers that actually signed up, maybe they got conveyed enough to actually sign up, but still, if the topic and the content does not feel that exclusive or interesting, they might not show up or just consider just watching the on-demand send out at the end. The type of webinar you host, as I mentioned earlier, marketing webinars will tend to see a bit lower attendance rate, whereas internal communication, maybe customer success towards existing customers, that will see a bit higher attendance rate. Also, industry will impact this. Financial industries and, for example, SaaS see a bit of a higher attendance rate typically, whereas attendance rates in consumer areas direct towards consumer and B2C, they typically have a lower attendance rate, whereas people are trying to sign up a bit more often and just not show up, maybe due to have a lot of conflicts in their private schedule. Also, the webinar software will impact your attendance rate, and that is basically things like how many reminders you're able to send out, how good of add to calendar buttons do you actually have in those reminders, are they branded, do they feel professional, and do they feel exclusive, or something more generic that looks like a bit of like Windows XP back in the day, or something you will just maybe even get into the spam folder and it will get lost in the attendees inbox. That's something that's really important to make sure that the technical side of things is not a hassle, it's something that enhances the attendance rate. And finally, the day of the week can also impact your attendance rate. Typically, having webinars throughout lunch hours-ish is quite good, and also in the mid of the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are considered good days to host webinars in general. So think about that. Do not plan your webinars Friday evening or Friday afternoon. Then you will see a lower attendance rate than you would typically otherwise. So the day can also impact a lot here, and the time. But also fun here is that you should really consider your ideal viewer persona once again. I feel like a broken record when I say it, but for example, if you're hosting webinars toward an ideal viewer persona that is venture capital firm, let's say, that sort of industry typically have meetings during Mondays internally, so then you should maybe not place your webinar on a Monday afternoon. Then you should probably aim for having a webinar maybe Tuesday or Wednesday instead, and you will see a higher attendance rate, but that's not a global rule for all webinars, right? So really think about what your viewer schedule will look like. So I think that's all for today. Just wanted to share some ideas around attendance rate and how you can leverage that KPI in your work to host better webinars. With Univid, you can host smooth webinars and engaging ones in less than 60 seconds. So I recommend to try it out. You can find the link down below and just try it for free and see what you think.